In this study of the Song of Songs we come to a very long section which runs from chapter 5 verse 2 to chapter 6 verse 3. As the New International Version translates it, it reads, "I slept, but my heart was awake. Listen, my beloved is knocking. Open to me, my sister, my darling, my dove, my flawless one. My head is drenched with dew, my hair with the dampness of the night. I've taken off my robe. Must I put it on again? I've washed my feet. Must I soil them again?" My beloved thrust his hand through the latch opening. My heart began to pound for him. I arose to open for my beloved, and my hands dripped with myrrh, my fingers with flowing myrrh on the handles of the bolt. I opened for my beloved, but my beloved had left. He was gone. My heart sank at his departure. I looked for him but did not find him. I called him, but he did not answer. The watchmen found me as they made their rounds in the city. They beat me, they bruised me, they took away my cloak, those watchmen of the walls. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, if you find my beloved, what will you tell him? Tell him I'm faint with love. How is your beloved better than others, most beautiful of women? How is your beloved better than others, that you so charge us? My beloved is radiant and ruddy, outstanding among 10,000. His head is pure as gold, his hair is wavy and black as a raven. His eyes are like doves by the water streams, washed in milk, mounted like jewels. His cheeks are like beds of spice, yielding perfume. His lips are like lilies, dripping with myrrh. His arms are rods of gold set with topaz. His body is like polished ivory, decorated with lapis lazuli. His legs are pillars of marble, set on bases of pure gold. His appearance is like Lebanon, choice as its cedars. His mouth is sweetness itself. He's altogether lovely. This is my beloved. This is my friend, daughters of Jerusalem. Where has your beloved gone, most beautiful of women? Which way did your beloved turn, that we may look for him with you? My beloved has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices, to browse in the gardens, and to gather lilies. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He browses among the lilies. Many cultures have stories of young women who meet their prince and, after what is an often whirlwind courtship, are married and, we are told, lived happily ever after. One may think of Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty, who, thanks especially to Walt Disney, are two examples that are virtually universally known. It may come as something of a surprise then that we've only reached the halfway point of the story in the Song of Songs. Courtship, the wedding and the first night have been described, but not as the end of a journey, but as the first steps on a new pathway. This journey both leads to an experience of life that is ever growing and deepening, but it is also not always free from difficulties, through which the enriched experience of mutual love is subsequently encountered. Not then happily ever after, but equally not the end of a story that flattens out unchanged and unchanging into a tedious and humdrum future. So I suggest the song before us here is best understood as intended to refer to the early days of married life. Perhaps in this section the details are more elusive than almost anywhere else in the book. The poetry is certainly sometimes difficult to pin down. However, the overall meaning appears to be fairly clear. In the typical chaste way in which the Song of Songs has so far described the sexual experience of the young couple, it does the same here. Behind the richly woven and elusive poetry, the first 8 verses appear to reveal that it is, again, bedtime, and the bride is tired and on the edge of sleep. Her husband has also returned from a busy day at work, but as he gets into bed he is aroused by the presence of his wife. She, for her part, is slow to respond to his advances, and when she herself reaches the point of arousal, The moment has passed for him. Perhaps he's fallen asleep. Or does the language point to the fact that he had left her before she had been ready to experience her own orgasm? The wife therefore finds herself with both an unrequited sexual longing and a deep sense of guilt that perhaps she's failed him. In this realistic way, the song reminds us that a married couple are two personalities whose sense of need will not always coalesce, not least in bed. It reminds us that sex is not always all that it is sometimes depicted to be. There will be failures aplenty. However, the wife's sense of failure has only awakened her afresh to how much she really loves her husband. If it were possible for others to assure her of her love, she would welcome their help. This appeal to her friends introduces them into the song in verse 9. What they ask are the reasons for her devotion. Why does she think him so special? Her reply is found in verses 10 to 16. The beautiful and uninhibited description she gives of her husband makes a number of important points. First of all, as far as she is concerned, no one else begins to reach her estimate of him. No one else can turn her head because he's unique. Secondly, this is true in two different ways. The language becomes progressively erotic as she speaks. She begins therefore by sharing how captivatingly handsome he appears to her, but if failures occur, she still finds he awakens her sexually. The reference to lips probably refers to more than a peck on the cheek, and verse 14 probably refers to the splendour associated with his opening of what she describes as a door, at which his strength and upright bearing bears comparison with the finest cedar in Lebanon. In this embrace, then, the young woman says she finds incomparable sweetness. But if her husband is in her eyes incomparably handsome, and as far as she is concerned, she can imagine no better partner in bed, her final and profoundest answer to her friends is found at the end of verse 16. Her husband is both her lover, but also her friend. My wife and I have a friend who, when she first met her husband to be about 40 years ago, amused us by the fact she described him in terms drawn from the gods of Greek mythology. As friends, perhaps like the daughters of Jerusalem, we couldn't see that this was remotely true, nice chap though he undoubtedly was. Decades later, he is rather the worse for the years that have intervened, but to her, he is still incomparable, and we still have a little chuckle. But this illustrates the point of this song. It is because her husband is her best friend, because they love one another, as we might say to bits, that she can imagine no finer man, and even if sexual encounters are sometimes disastrous, she cannot imagine any greater experiences possible than when she is enfolded in his arms, enjoying his kisses, and offering herself to him as he to her in a supremely intimate way. The last three verses of this song, the first three verses of chapter 6, begin with the wife's friends suggesting they might like to share something of what she enjoys. They are, however, excluded. So perhaps we can envisage dawn breaking, and as the husband and wife awake, they are now both ready for one another. It's like the marriage night all over again, and the young man delights in entering his garden to the same extent that his wife is delighted he has come to make a visit. Yet the wife has one further word to say, perhaps as she lies sated in her husband's arms. Very simply she recognizes that in their mutual self-giving they have given themselves. Again, it is this that for her makes sex so precious and sweet. It is also possible that we have evidence of her maturing relationship with her husband. Earlier in chapter 2, verse 16, she spoke possessively of her boyfriend. He's mine, she says, and well, yes, I'm also his. Here the two statements are reversed. He comes first. I am my beloved's. While this suggests she belongs to him, and this might imply an unhealthy, demanding relationship, this is not true here. It is precisely because of the love they share as friends and the mutuality of their relationship that she's happy to speak of him as her Lord. But then surely given the chance he would be able to echo back her words. Only when a relationship is one of mutual love and sharing can we willingly place the other first, in the knowledge that they will themselves put us first. At this point, a long song reaches its end. It beautifully weaves together the difficulties of two becoming one, while revealing that a deepening mutuality in the relationship between husband and wife creates an exclusive bond where neither can imagine themselves without the other, and where, if sex may sometimes be a bit of a disaster, the embrace of one loving friend with the other is unsurpassingly sweet and awesome. And awesome may be the right word. We suggested that verse 14 and 15 are coded language for the enjoyment of the most intimate of the other's bodily organs. But the words used also echo terms used of Solomon in building his temple to the Lord. In enjoying one another, then, husband and wife are helping build something that is sacred and are experiencing a pale reflection of what it means to be the friends and lovers of God himself.